Today's video is going to be about lower body mobility and pants. And you might think, what do the two have to do with each other? Well, more than you think, and let me explain why. The idea is when people think about mobility or flexibility training, they usually think about the exercises and the sets and the reps. How long do I hold it for? Do I do contract, relax? What's the workout? They think about the training. What kind of training do I need to get flexible? And this is absolutely important. You probably won't make the gains you want without the training. But another thing that I want people to think about that's often overlooked is what do you do for the other 23 hours of the day, and how can you live a lifestyle that encourages more use of your range of motion? Because what that's going to do is help solidify the flexibility gains that you're going to get, and it's going to make it much easier to maintain it because you're living a lifestyle that again encourages you to use all of the range of motion that you have. And one factor that I specifically want to focus on today is your clothing. If you wear restrictive clothing that doesn't allow you to have a full range of motion, that can at best slow down your flexibility progress, at worst maybe even hinder it and set you back, because restrictive clothes can be to some degree like a prison, and it's not a good thing when you are trying to get at and reach your flexibility goals. So basically today's video, the topic is what I call the pants test. This is if I'm trying a new pair of pants on. This is a quick test for the range of motion that I want to have, and if I have the full range of motion in the pants that I'm wearing, I know that I'm not restricted, and I know that in terms of my hip flexibility, I can use that at any point throughout the day, as opposed to, again, let's say you wear restrictive clothing for work for 10-12 hours a day, and you can only express your full range of motion when you get home and change out of these clothes. How do you think that's going to affect your overall long-term mobility? How do you think that's going to affect your overall health? And if you're actively training your flexibility to try to do things like splits or deep squats or high kicks or anything like that involving flexibility, how do you think that's going to affect your workout and your overall progress with that? So again, it's one of those factors that's not super obvious, but I think it's often overlooked, and I think it's a very, very important element of the whole flexibility spectrum. So I think that's enough of an introduction. Let me go into the few exercises that I use in my pants test, and then what I'll do is go into kind of like a fashion show where I do the pants test with a number of different pants that I own. Now keep in mind, they don't all pass the test. It's not like it's 100% like never wear any pants that you can't pass this test in. It's just a general guideline to consider, and it's something that I think you should at least apply for most of your clothing that you wear most of the time. So let's go into the test. And then let's go into the pants test itself. So these current pants, these are like Joggers sweatpants from Woolly Clothing. They're made of 100% merino wool. They're very comfortable. I just wear them around the house most of the time. So here is the first exercise, probably the most important because it's going to stretch the fabric out maximally. And we're just going to go into kind of a deep horse stance, bent knees, get as low as you can, shift side to side. I'll show you from the side. It's just a really low horse stance, just as wide, legs as wide as you can, knees bent, and see how that fabric stretches. See what it feels like kind of near your groin, near your crotch, if it's stretched out, if the fabric starts to get tight, if you feel like the fabric is under any stress. Very important, because this is going to be kind of your maximal range of motion that you're going to go to in the pants. So this is kind of the number one test. And after that, what I'll do is just high kicks, right? I'm just going to throw a few kicks and just kind of see if the pants are heavy. Sometimes they'll slow you down, so the actual fabric makes a difference. But mostly what I'm checking to see is if I'm restricted. If there's any point in any of these movements that the pants are actually pushing me back down to this position. And that's specifically what I don't want, because then it's a prison. It's impeding my gains. And I have ripped a bunch of pants. It took a while to find good ones that I can fully move in. So it's part of the journey. But yeah, that's kind of the main pants test. So number one, deep squat. Number two, I'm gonna throw some kicks. I'm just gonna swing my legs around and make sure that if I have any restrictions, it's coming from my own hips, which is stuff that I can work on and that I should work on. It's not coming from the pants themselves. And then if I want to, I can, these are all really good, kind of big lunges, Cossack, squats, all of this kind of stuff, just testing the fabric and the full range of the pants. And what the factors are going to be, so the fabric makes a difference, whether it has stretch or not. The actual width of the legs, how tight they are, in conjunction with the fabric, the actual build of the pants, how many panels they have and how they're put together. So all of that's going to be factors. But essentially any pants I'm wearing, not necessarily that that's what I'm going to do, but I want to have the range of motion that if I needed to, I can kick somebody in the face. And if I needed to, I can pop down and do my Van Damme split. But also keep in mind this horse stance plie movement is going to stretch the fabric more than the actual split itself, which is why that's always number one. First thing I do, try on a pair of pants, boom, wide, horse stance, see what that feels like. So that's the test. And now these are good pants to demonstrate them on because they're very light, easygoing pants. I have full range of motion in them, but you might think, okay, I can't wear sweatpants every day. So I'll show you a few different kind of pants and I'll tell you what they are and I'll show you how they do in this particular test as well. Okay, so here we have our good old-fashioned American blue jeans. This is a classic. Jeans are notorious for not having good flexibility. It took me a very long time to find a good pair of jeans because for me, I have a 30-inch waist, but my legs are pretty muscular and it's very difficult to find a good pair of jeans that fit and allow for that full range of motion. So these are from Fran Denim. There's a few companies now that do this, and what they do, so these are 98% cotton, 2% spandex. So that's something that it's kind of a good factor to look for if the fabric is one that doesn't stretch. That little bit of spandex can sometimes make a huge difference. Now I do prefer to wear organic fibers as much as possible, so that 2% spandex can make a very, very big difference. And I'll show you, these jeans are fairly tight. I don't know what cut they are, but they're fairly tight on me. There's not a whole lot of leg room, but because of that added stretch, right, they pass that first test pretty easy. Now when I'm here, I can feel the fabric stretch. I can feel it cut into my legs, but it's not restrictive because of that stretch of the fabric. Now if this was 100% cotton and the same cut, probably when I get to here it would stop me, which is not what I want. I want completely unrestricted range of motion. Let's throw a few kicks. Kicks feel good. The pants are light, they are unrestrictive, but they are still 100% American classic blue jeans. So this is good if you wanna beat Chuck Norris, kick ass in the jeans. Yeah, so this is Fran Denim. Again, I've had these for years, but it is a good company to look at. I think there's a few other companies that do this. So these are, and I checked beforehand. So this is 98% cotton, 2% spandex. 2% doesn't sound like a lot, but believe me, it makes a very big difference, and it's nice to have jeans that you can fully move in. These are the Vollebak Off Grid sweatpants. So these are 100% cotton, which means that the fabric does not stretch. A little bit different than the jeans, different weave. But if I pull on the fabric, probably can't see from this angle, there's no stretch to it. However, they are still unrestrictive because they're sweatpants. So there's a ton of space in the legs and the way that they're cut. But let's go into the tests. So here, when I get real low, like, and I'm at the limit of the pants, I can feel them push back, but at this point, because the pants are loose and because there's a lot of leg space, it's not restrictive. Maybe if these were a little bit thinner on the legs, I would feel it when I get into that low horse stance. But in this case, I'm at my end range, and I can feel the fabric under a little bit of stretch here, but it's not anything that I think would restrict myself. Now again, it might be the case with the same proportions and more flexibility to go lower than that. And then maybe in that case, the 2% spandex would make a difference, or maybe like a gusseted crotch is another thing that you can look for. Some pants have that. It's a good feature, especially for martial arts uniforms, things like that. But here, again, no restrictions. And then kicks, not a problem. So it's a different example basically because the fabric of these pants does not have any stretch because it is 100% cotton. However, because, I'm just throwing kicks now, but because of the way they're constructed and because they have space, they still allow for full range of motion. Okay, so you might be thinking, I don't have a regular job, so I can wear sweatpants and jeans on every day, most days. So what if you have to dress up? What do you got to wear something fancy? So here are slacks. Right, these are dress pants. These, kind of funny, they actually have fake blood on them, probably from a movie gig I did a while back. The company is State and Liberty, and I checked the tags, so they're a composite of a few different fabrics, 6% spandex. So I believe these were sent to me to try out from this company, but essentially same idea. This is the first one, so if these pants, if they had no stretch, this would already be a problem, because you can see it's already so tight on my legs, and now here it's being stretched further, but that 6% spandex makes a big difference. So even slacks, right, and again, 10 years ago, there probably weren't as many options. 20 years ago, probably almost no options, but now there's a market for people who still want to have the fancy dress, but still want that full range of motion. So these are pants that are a little bit tighter, a little bit smaller on the leg for me compared to the other ones. You can see if I pull them up, my whole leg fits in there, but they are slacks, they are dress pants, but because of that 6% spandex, and I think these are like nylon, polyester, rayon, there's a few different fabrics in there, I don't remember exactly from checking the tag, but 6% spandex, so I can still throw all my kicks. So even my slacks still pass the pants test. And next up, these are cotton canvas pants. These are the Foundry pants from Bearded Goat, and I like the material a lot, right? I like this cotton canvas because it's very durable, it's easy to maintain, it lasts a long time, it's resistant to scuffs and abrasions and all of that, but it definitely does not have very much flexibility. If you get a pair of 100% cotton canvas pants, it's very likely that they will restrict your range of motion, and I've had actually a few pairs of pants like that that I ultimately ended up having to let go, because if I'm gonna wear these pants on a regular basis, I don't want to have any kind of restrictions. And I even remember, not these pants, it was 100% cotton canvas. I was going hiking and I was on a steep hill, and when I was lifting my leg up, I could feel the pants restricting me, and I didn't like that at all. So it's a great material. These from Bearded Goat are very well done. I wasn't sure, but I'm very happy with them. These are 3%, so these are 97% cotton, 3% spandex, and again, let's go into the pants test. So we get here, this is where the fabric is stretched the most, and same thing, if this were 100% cotton, here would be the point where it limits me and kind of sends me back, but I can keep going, and it's that stretch of the fabric that allows me to keep going, and the seams are all constructed pretty heavy, so that's very good. And then we'll throw our kicks. See how the kicks go. Right, these pants pass the test. So again, it's something to look for if you're looking for, these kind of tough, durable work pants. Just that little bit, that 2-3% spandex can make the difference. And as I mentioned, my preference is always organic materials as much as I can, as opposed to synthetic. Synthetic ones are going to be more flexible, but yeah, it's that 2-3% of spandex really makes the difference. So these are the Bearded Goat canvas pants. Next up, we have the Jujimufu pants. These are the #1 most flexible pants that I have, that I've ever worn. They're made to be that way. The actual cut, the legs are super wide, and the fabric has a ton of stretch. These are, I believe, 84% polyester and 16% spandex. So a huge percentage of elastane. And I mean, there are zero restrictions in these pants at all because of those two reasons, because of the width and the extra space, and then of course because of the stretch. So these are for training pants involving any kind of flexibility type work. You're not going to do any better than this in terms of flexibility. I don't even have to throw my kicks. You can already see. So these are the least restrictive pants ever. there are situations that I wouldn't wear them, obviously, because these are kind of workout training pants. So they don't necessarily apply for every situation, but in terms of the most flexible pants, you got 16% spandex, you got a wide leg, you can just feel how much elasticity there is in the fabric itself. So these are the Jujimufu Acrobolix pants. And next up, these are the Omega pants from Graphene-X. These are kind of heavy duty utility pants. The outer shell is 95% graphene embedded nylon, so nylon doesn't have any stretch, and then 5% spandex. So these are really interesting because if they didn't have that stretch, they would actually not offer their range of motion, because these are kind of one of the heavier, more thicker pair of pants that I have, but that 5% is there. So these pants, they weigh a little bit more than some other pants that I have. So when I get here, for example, I can feel the pants want to restrict me, but then that 5% spandex kicks in and no problem. So the same thing here, if these pants had no spandex, no elasticity, this would be the point where they'd start to restrict me. But then, because they have that spandex, that 5%, I can still get in, I can still do what I need to do. So, and then again, just in terms of proportions, so that's one thing that if you have muscular legs, you may want to look into wider leg pants if the fabric does not have stretch, because these pants are, they're straight fit, they're normal fit, right? But because I have bigger legs, they can be a little bit tight. So if you're all wearing clothes like that and you're afraid of the restriction, just look for that couple percent spandex. But overall, I still wear these pants because they still allow me to throw all my kicks unrestricted. So even kind of heavy duty work utility pants, you can still find ones that still allow you to have that full range of motion. Even if they are a little bit heavier, look for that couple percent spandex, look at the materials, see how they feel, do your tests. And even if you are wearing that style of pants, I'm sure this is a good option. You can find other options as well that still allow for that full range of motion. And then the final pair of pants on today's list, because everything else that I showed you has been, these are pretty new. At the most, I've only had, I think, the oldest one of those for a few years. So I want to show you some older pants. These, I haven't had them longer than them, but these are vintage military pants from the Vietnam era. So I'm guessing they're 100% cotton. They got holes, a bunch of patches, button, right? Everything is buttoned, so it doesn't have a zipper fly. So these are old school pants, probably older than me by at least 15 years or so, if not more than that. I got them from a military supply store. So test number one, the legs are wide enough that I can go into here. However, if I were to stretch the fabric down like this, I can feel the restriction because this fabric does not have any stretch to it. So I just have to make sure they're in the right place. And the same thing here, I get here, I can feel a little bit of stretch in the fabric, but just like the 100% cotton sweatpants I showed you earlier, because the legs, you can see how wide the legs are, because there's enough room in the legs, it still allows me to be able to move. Now the kicks, because there is no stretch, I do feel it a little bit in the crotch. So when I get here, when I get into these lunges, I can feel the pants fabric stretching, but it doesn't have any stretch, so it's being pulled. So it's just something to look out for, something to consider. So again, if I'm doing movies and I'm getting pants that are part of a costume like this one would be, this actually has been in a couple films already, this pair, I just have to keep that in mind. If I'm going really hard on certain movements, I have to make sure that I don't rip the pants. So just something to consider. Even older pants can still pass the test. You just have to check the fabric, check the fit, check your own proportions, check how they're put together. And overall, again, just different pairs of pants so you can see how they work with the test. But just to kind of come back to that test, wide horse stance, stretch the pants as much as possible, see how they feel, see where the points of stress are, and then some high kicks, see if there are any restrictions, if there are any points that it's the pants that pull you down or push your leg down and don't allow you to continue. And then bonus, usually the kicks and the horse stance will be enough, but then you can also just do, you know, these like Cossack rotations, lunges, because they'll also show you where those points of stress are when the pants are being stretched. And yeah, those are just a few different kinds of pants. So what's the point of all of this? The point is that don't let your clothes restrict you. You think, how do I get flexible? What's the workout? What are the exercises I need to do? Yes, keep thinking about that. Bring in the lifestyle factors as well. What do you do for the rest of the day? Do you live a life that allows you to regularly express your full range of motion? Societal constraints are part of it too, right? What are kids told to do all day in school? Sit in the desk, sit still, don't keep moving. You only get to move for a half-hour recess, yard time. I don't want to get into that right now, but it's something to consider. But basically, you want to take out these restrictions where you can. So if it seems like a small thing, and it is, but it can add up. So let's say even, again, let's say you do work in an office. You have to sit at a desk for many hours a day. Just even something simple like finding a pair of pants that allows you to move without restriction. And then during that day, maybe you take a few 5-minute breaks where you do some stretches, you do some mobility work over months or over years. That can make a huge difference compared to if you were still wearing restrictive clothing every day and didn't do any kind of real movement until you got home and got out of those clothes. So as always, I'm not saying this is right or wrong. I'm not saying all your pants and clothes have to pass this test. Not at all. It's just something to think about, and if you can apply it to more situations, you're going to be better off, because then you can continue working on these things without specifically training for them, and it's just going to encourage more flexibility and overall just a healthier lifestyle with more movement without doing anything directly to affect it. And the pants you wear, that's a very, very easy thing to control. So those are my thoughts. Next time you try on a pair of pants, you can try the pants test. Just try not to kick down the doors of the dressing room of your local Target or wherever you go shopping. That's it for today. Thank you for watching. I appreciate all your support. If there's any other videos that you'd like to see from me, let me know in the comments below. Otherwise, you can like, share, subscribe, and all that good stuff. Thank you.